8:30. One of these days, I might actually get this thing to start at 8 o'clock. Hi there. Welcome back once again at what is turning out to be the usual time of 8:30 here on Cast Iron Wednesday. Yeah, it's a Wednesday once again. We've got only, 2 more Wednesdays before the big day. And that's why I figured tonight would be a nice night to make one of those great Christmas classics that everybody's heard about but nobody really knows about. And that, of course, would be figgy pudding. Because, I know, we've all heard the joke so many times. What the heck is figgy pudding? And the answer, of course, is that figgy pudding is a traditional Christmas pudding made in the classic English style, although, of course, there are many variations on it. And in fact, what I'm making tonight, I suppose, is technically not the original British plum pudding, in that this is a figgy pudding that really does have a whole lot of figs in it. It also does not have those horrid fruitcake mix things, those cherries and the candied orange peel and all that. It's mostly, in fact, just that. We have really figs and some apple as well to add some citrus flavor. And as far as the fruit goes, that's pretty much it. But the thing is that several years ago, I went looking around for a figgy pudding recipe and saw this one that actually uses figs. And when I tried it, quite frankly, I fell in love with it. The recipe was something, oh man. Yeah, you could say my Christmas would never be the same if I haven't made a figgy pudding ever since then. It is so rich. It is so decadent, and boy, is it ever heavy, too. If anybody can eat more than 2 pieces of this figgy pudding in one sitting, then they would have to be a glutton, probably on the order of Henry VIII. But on the other hand, that's also why I've gone out of my way to push this every year. I love it so much. I think it is so delicious that I really, really do want people to try making a figgy pudding. And that's why, as well, I brought out the big guns for this, because what we're doing here essentially is steaming this pudding in the old-fashioned style. Oh, I should say right now, no, I'm not actually going to be making the pudding. I started making it about just under 2 hours ago, so that way might actually be able to do the reveal during this live. We're supposed to steam it for at least 3 hours, which means somehow I've got to talk for at least the next hour or so before the pudding is ready. Well, I've done that before. And anyway, we do have some time to fill in as well. So I've got a couple of other very simple Christmas type dishes to prepare. One of which is some to go with this figgy pudding. We're going to be putting some candied pecans on the top. Candied pecans are so easy to prepare, and they will really add a nice topping to the pudding. And the other, of course, is also a very simple recipe that I think a lot of you have probably made, because it is that easy, and they call it Christmas crack. It's a very simple brittle of essentially a very sweet topping of chocolate and cinnamon and more chocolate, poured over saltine crackers and baked in the oven. And that's why they call it Christmas crack, because once you start, and once you've had one, you just can't stop. Okay, so what do we have here? Tell us how you really feel. Oh, yeah, talking about internet prices. Oh, yeah, somebody went to a flea market today. They have flea markets on Wednesdays? Well, I guess here in New England, our flea markets are a lot more limited than yours. Hi, Raymond. William Hurd. I have a couple of cast iron match holders, but nothing that cool. Ooh, yeah, those cast iron knickknacks. Um, hello. I've made bookworm 73. I've never made this, so I'm looking forward to trying something new. Yeah, actually, that's the thing is, as I said, I did start making this in advance. However, there's no reason why you can't simply look up the recipe for it because it really is very, very easy. Let me let me show you what it is, and then I'll talk a little bit more about that as I start melting some butter. Okay, that means we got to well, we need these, of course, because this is hot, but we just change our view a little bit. I'll lower this down a little bit. As always, thank you everybody for their patience while I do this. Because, there we go. Boy, is that professional or what? Anyway, yeah, I brought out the that huge stove enamel Dutch oven because I find that this is really a great pot for steaming. I mean, after all, we're boiling water in this for about 3 hours or so, and if you boil water in a bare cast iron pot, well, that could possibly affect the seasoning. So I brought out the enamel pot for it. And inside, what do we have? But the figgy pudding, and it's steaming the old-fashioned way. This thing's actually rising too. You can see in the center there. It was flat when I started it, but it is actually rising underneath. So that's a very good sign there. Anyway, also, whoops, whoa. Okay. Well, you got a close-up view of that. However, now we can get back to our original view here. There we go. So,
one thing.
Yes, what's up?
The darker ones, I put out the ones in the black bag.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we could sprinkle on top.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just enough. It's not really enough to mix in. And plus, the darker ones, the 60%.
Right.
I
understand. So we'll mix in the milk chocolate and then sprinkle on the dark chocolate.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's a nice flavor and contrast.
All right. That's what we'll do. Anyway, that is figgy pudding. Now, one thing about these old British puddings is it is really, they're among the easiest dishes in the world to make. Quite literally, what you do is you gather all the ingredients together. You mix them together in a big bowl. You cover the bowl, as you saw, I had it covered with foil. Place it in a basin with a little bit of water boiling at the bottom, and you steam it. In this case, it's supposed to steam for 3 hours. So that's because this is different from a cake. I mean, this is a pudding in that it's made, well, there is some flour in it, excuse me. It's also made with a lot of breadcrumbs. And British puddings differ from baked cakes for that reason. They are steamed and you don't bake them, and they are made with breadcrumbs. But the consistency as a result is very soft. And if you know anything about British cuisine, well, you have my sympathies. But other than that, as you know, they often refer to this as sponge because it has that kind of a consistency. Before sponge cake, they made puddings that very famously they call a sponge, including one particular type of this sponge that if I say this, it may very well get me flagged by YouTube, but I'm sure you have heard of spotted dick, and that is the actual name for that type of a sponge pudding in Great Britain. And if you don't believe me, yes, you can ask anybody. I won't repeat it because you can easily look that up online. Anyway, that's the whole point, is that if you want to make a figgy pudding, I very much encourage you to do so. The first thing you need to do is get yourself a pound of dried figs. And those are those. Oh, actually, I should start with this as well, because as I mentioned, I'm going to be making another dish. So let me digress for 1 second. And here we get to pull out another one of our toys. This one I have shown a couple of times before. This one I call Lucky Number 7. This is my gate marked number 7 size cast iron skillet. Usually I use this for making cornbread. Tonight I'm taking it out to make some Christmas crack. And yeah, I suppose between the Walter White jokes and the fact that I'm making some crack here, I'm sure there'll be some comments about that. But nonetheless, Yeah, I can say something about this as well while I'm heating up the butter. I don't want to get too much off the subject. Okay, number one, of course, we got to start heating up the pan. The ingredients for this is we're really just making a very simple type of caramel type of sauce to drizzle over the pudding, and that means we're going to be using salted butter, a cup of brown sugar, and chocolate chips, and that's pretty much it. And we're going to mix it all and drizzle it over a whole bunch of saltine crackers. It really is that easy. And if you've never made Christmas crack, well then, as you can see, it is something you could easily make with the kids. So give me a second here. Okay, now as I mentioned, this particular pan here, again, is a gate marked number 7 size. These kinds of pans, by the way, definitely date from anywhere from the late 1800s to at most the early 1900s. And the interesting thing, well, there's several interesting things about these pans. Number one is that this was actually meant as a disposable throwaway item. Throwaways. Yeah, because in those days, back then, cooking stoves had become popular and really had changed the way cooking was done and the way kitchens were designed pretty much during the last half of the 19th century. And during that time, if a family or someone actually invested and purchased a cast iron wood burning stove, the manufacturer usually included a set of cast iron cookware to go with the stove. Yes, you actually got a free set of cast iron cookware, such as this one. And they were very cheaply made. They were very thin, very light, and very smooth, which one reason is why we like seeing these things today. They had a gate mark on the bottom, largely because the manufacturers, again, these were cheap throwaway items, and they really didn't care too much, just so that they looked nice on the top of the stove. But underneath where the fire was going, they didn't care so much. This particular one has a letter A marked on the bottom, and that's only because they supplied those in sets so that you could keep track of them. I mean, obviously, it would be A, B, C, D. Excuse me. So that when these pans came with the stove, like A would be a skillet, B would be a stovetop kettle, C could be a griddle, D could be let me see. We got that. Maybe a bigger skillet. It's hard to say exactly, but nonetheless, that's why all it has is the letter A. It doesn't even have the manufacturer's mark. So this is an unknown gate marked cast iron skillet, which are actually still very common. I mean, they are, of course, cast iron, and even though this thing is anywhere from like 120 to maybe 150 years old, these things can still be found all over the place, even today. And after they have been cleaned up, they still cook just great. I mean, as you can see, this is not having any trouble at all melting some butter here. And in addition to the butter, I'm going to throw in okay, let's make sure we got enough. A couple of cups of chocolate chips. And there are the scissors. Okay, by the way here, looks like, wow, it was like we were right there. Yeah, I know. Didn't you like that really fancy close-up effect? That wasn't that so amazing?
What are you supposed to be calling me to do?
I'm doing the Christmas crack.
Yeah, don't you do the caramel on the saltine first?
Oh, yes, you're right. The brown sugar. Okay,
Yeah,
you're right.
yeah,
I forgot.
I was like, whoa.
It's right here.
No chocolate chips yet.
Not yet, anyway. Okay. Okay. I did it out of order. My bad. So anyway, yes, she was right. What we have right now, though, is a cup of brown sugar to go with 1 cup or 2 sticks of butter. And once these all get together, then we'll mix in the chocolate chips.
Yeah, no, you put the...
No, the milk chocolate chips.
No. You do the caramel first. You pour the caramel over the saltines. You put it out and bake it. After that comes out, after those are baked with the caramel, then you take the chocolate chips and you drizzle the chocolate over it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that since there were 2 kinds of chocolate chips, we were doing them in different. Oh, okay.
No, that's just the topping.
Okay.
So first, you pour this over. Once it's down to the caramel layer,
All right.
you caramel, you pour it on the saltines.
Okay.
You put it in the oven to bake.
Okay.
Okay. When that's done, when those are baked up, then you put the chocolate chips. Either you drizzle the chocolate on, or you put the chocolate chips on it and spread the chocolate chips once they've melted.
Okay.
And then the dark chocolate ones, we just put them like you would the sprinkles.
All right. All right.
Yeah, you don't want to mix the chocolate chips in with the caramel layer. It's not going to work.
Okay. It won't bake very well?
No, not at all. Because caramel it's a consistency thing.
Okay. Yeah, this is definitely different from the Christmas crack that I knew. So, all right. But nonetheless,
you made it before?
it's been a while. I will say that much.
Okay.
But yes.
Because the way I've known the way I've made it with my sister a bunch of times, and the way I've seen it, because it's been coming up on TikTok.
Okay.
And it's been the same way that I've just explained all 3 times I've seen it on TikTok.
Oh, yes, TikTok.
So I thought of it today.
So anyway, as you said, all we got to do is just mix all this together until it is well melted. Okay. Meanwhile, what do we have here? Y'all hit that thumbs up. Well, thank you.
How much brown sugar? That wasn't a lot.
That was 1 cup of brown sugar, exactly as the recipe said. So
Okay.
I know it didn't look like it, did it?
No, that didn't. That's not a 1 cup. Did you put 2 of those or 1 of those? That's a half a cup, sweetheart.
This
Not
is
a cup.
no. This is a third. Actually,
Yeah.
You're right. Oh boy. Okay. Well, then I'll just throw in 1 more.
All right.
There we go.
If it was a
That'll
third-
make it a
if
cup.
it was a third, you need 2 more.
Yes.
So now you need another one.
Okay. Yeah.
I only did
Boy.
1, right?
No. I did 2 beforehand.
Okay.
But okay, you're right there. I'm off to a great start, aren't I? Between the camera falling and my using the wrong size measuring cup. Oh well, that's what you get for doing this on YouTube Live.
Mhm.
Speaking of which, meanwhile, as I'd mentioned before, yeah, the camera accidentally kind of tipped over, or maybe, yeah, or maybe you might say that might have been a special effect.
Yeah. So what?
Yeah.
That was supposed to happen.
Yes, exactly. Ms. French Twist, a Southern mystery skillet. Yeah, this could very well have come from the American South. Yes. Those Southern mystery skillets generally were in the number 8 size, and they look a lot like the early day lodges. These ones probably even date to before then because of this very fancy and very familiar teardrop design on the handle. Everybody has seen this kind of a design here. Let me quickly pull in again. And we are talking about, come on, arrange it right, why don't I? Here we are. This design. Everybody has seen pans with this design on the handle. There's no denying that. Yeah. Cast iron collectors, well, nobody really knows who originally designed that. Cast iron collectors have identified one foundry from the 1800s called the Excelsior Foundry that apparently did mark their pans as well. And so there's a theory that they may have been the first ones to actually design that teardrop shape on the handle there. And if so, they could very well have sold the pattern to any number of foundries, or the pattern may just simply have been copied by any number of small manufacturers. So it's really impossible to tell who actually made this pan. But the important thing, of course, is that it's, is that it cooks so well. Oh, gotta add a little bit of salt. This is supposed to be salted butter. That's probably more than enough. In fact, I'd say that is likely half a teaspoon or so. So there we go. Brown sugar, salted butter. And once we bring it to the boil, as they say, we let it boil for a couple of minutes. Then we pour it over the saltines here, and we just bake it in the oven for a few minutes. All right, what do we have now at this point? Sounds like me and Rhonda cooking together. Oh yeah, oh yeah. We get along actually surprisingly well in the kitchen here. And yeah, the skillet. Yeah, I very much enjoy this skillet. This is one of many things I found at Brimfield, and I got a nice bargain for it too. If I remember right, this and a second skillet I think together I paid $15 for. To be honest, I don't even remember what the second skillet was. I'm thinking I may have long since gotten rid of that other skillet, but this one I kept. So because of the gate mark and because, well, it has such a nice design and it is really such a good cooker. Usually I have used this mostly for making cornbread. In this case, I've made an exception by boiling this caramel together. All right, and I don't believe it is boiling quite yet, but it should be any moment. This should not take long at all. Okay, what do we have here? What a find. Sorry I'm late, kids. Peg Tooth. Hi there. Yeah, Brimfield is the best. You bet. Okay, having said all that, I guess we'll get back to the subject at hand, which again was the figgy pudding. As I mentioned already, figgy pudding, besides being so easy to put together, it does have a couple of ingredients that I like using even from the Old English recipe, one of which would be suet, which of course is hardened beef fat. That is not quite the same as lard or shortening. It actually has a much thicker consistency. Suet is not as easy to find here in the United States as it might be in Great Britain or even, I guess, in the American South, but you can usually find it in the meat department. In my case, I happen to be in a town that has a couple of decent meat markets, and so from there, it's not too hard to get suet, and it's not especially expensive either. So, not only is it good for making these steamed puddings, as anybody who bakes knows, suet is the choice to make if you want to really make a good pie crust. I mean, everybody makes pie crusts with butter, with shortening. But if you make a suet pie crust, that's going to give you a pie that is really outstanding. The other ingredient, as I mentioned already, are the figs. In this case, I'm just using 1 pound or 16 ounces of dried figs. And those are especially this time of year, those are very easy to find. Well, this is definitely heating up. I can see that. It's not sure. I'm hoping it congeals together all right. Anyway, yeah, dried figs are very easy to find, and again, not too expensive, especially at this time of year. Now, one thing I like to do, which is a little different, is to actually run the suet through a meat grinder, because hardened suet is kind of difficult to chop up. And so because of that, I've got a little, oh good, it is definitely boiling. That's good. So that's why it's getting all foamy here. So I definitely have to keep stirring. I do not want to burn this. Also turn it down just a wee bit. However, give 1 second and show off one other little toy here. And that, of course, is a meat grinder by none other than Griswold. Anyway, I like running the suet through a meat grinder because, of course, it chops it up very nicely. And then after that, what we can do is take the dried figs and run them through the grinder as well, for a couple of reasons. Dried figs are actually very, very difficult to chop up, as anybody who's tried it will tell you. The grinder does a great job on it, and it also helps to clean out a lot of the extra grease from the suet, the extra fat, clean that out of the grinder. So it's much easier to clean the grinder up after that. I think I'll turn this heat down considerably now because, again, I do not want this to burn. You can see I'm getting a foam showing up here. Anyway, those are the two unusual ingredients in figgy pudding. You need suet and you need the dried figs. The third thing I like to do is to get a fresh apple, typically a Granny Smith. You peel it and you chop it up nice and fine, and then you just mix all that together. And then from there, it's really no more than just mixing all your ingredients together in one big, huge bowl. That's when you add in breadcrumbs and some flour and some baking powder and butter and I throw in a little bit of molasses as well, and a lot of sugar to make sure, that it actually has a decent flavor to it. Then from there, it's really no more than just adding a few spices. And then finally, we throw in addition to all that, about a cup of nuts. Only in this case, I ended up leaving out the nuts, and I'm going to use candied pecans at the end. And once you do that, all you have to do then is mix it all together, put it in a 2-quart basin. In this case, I'm just using a glass mixing bowl, which I got at a discount store several years ago. And then you steam it in the oven. You steam it on top of the stove, exactly as we saw there. Get a big pot, fill it. You don't fill it all the way with water. You only bring it up to about the bottom or so of the basin. You cover it and you steam it, and that's really all there is to it. Once again, the recipe is on my website. It is actually very easy to make. It does take patience because since we're steaming it rather than baking it, it's going to take at least 3 hours to finish steaming. And at this point, I've got about maybe 45 minutes left before we can actually uncover this pudding and see how it's done. Of course, there's plenty of time. And yeah, actually now I do believe this is starting to congeal rather nicely. Let's see if I can pull this and get like a bit of a close-up here without, I have to keep stirring it still. However, this is congealing rather nicely. I think we're probably at the point here where we can simply throw this over the crackers. So let's turn off the heat here. Yeah, this is nice. All it takes is a little bit of patience, as Guns N' Roses said. And I've got a baking tray and it has saltine crackers on it. The tray is one of those things that I was lucky enough to inherit from Mom. So it does, even though it's an aluminum baking tray, it still obviously has a lot of meaning to me. So from here, let's just simply start carefully drizzling this. Oh yeah, it's got a nice, yeah, it definitely does have a caramel type of scent to it. No question about it. Yeah. Yeah, it is caramel. Yeah, it's really butter and brown sugar. And when you mix it together, you've got caramel. Jamie was kind enough to point out the proper way of making this. And there we go. And boy, this sure emptied out very nicely.
Ooh, you came close too. Smell?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Ooh. That was borderline right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Now I got to do this quickly. And then from there, from what you say, we just pop it in the oven for a few minutes.
Yep.
All right.
Because what it does, it'll melt it down a little bit and it'll pull it through the crackers.
Okay. And that's what we will do.
We've done it 2 ways. We did it this way and just left it like that before, and then we
Move
baked
this
it.
over 1 second.
With my sister, we worked better because it pulls it through the crackers.
There we go. Okay, and into the oven we go, and it only takes a few minutes.
Yep.
All right. That was easy.
Mm-hmm.
So that was dish number 2. We've got figgy pudding, which will be done in a little less than 45 minutes. And we've got our the start on our Christmas crack.
Yep.
Yeah, I've already encouraged these people to make some Walter White jokes when you consider that me and making crack. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and then from there you just sprinkle the chocolate chips on when it's in the oven, and then you close the oven door. You have to melt the chocolate chips really quick, and then you spread them.
Okay, Jana. Okay, if you don't mind a question, I find that heating up a cast iron steam pit in oven it takes ages in power of infinity compared to warming it up on a stove. Well, there is that difference. Of course, warming it up on a stove doesn't necessarily heat it evenly. Obviously, there's more heat on the bottom as opposed to on the top. You have to gradually heat it up on the stove top in order to ensure you've got fairly even heating up and down. Heating it up in the oven, on the other hand, of course, will evenly heat it top to bottom. And that's one reason why I do like heating pans up in the oven for that reason. Um, Jamie needs a microphone. I'll have to let her know that. All right. Peg tooth fried salted pork fat was awesome on a winter Sunday. Yeah, very healthy. Well, hey, you're here. You didn't die, did you? We don't use suet so much on the American side. Boy, is that true.
That's for the birds.
Yes, yeah, except for the
For the
birds.
birds.
Yeah, for the
That's for
birds.
the boys.
I know. It's no, you don't have to go and buy a suet bird feeder and then try sorting out all of those seeds from the suet. It's not worth it. Not that I'm speaking from experience, mind you. So it's much easier, I think, really to find a semi-decent meat market that will sell suet. A decent butcher will sell that. I've even found suet at some of the chain supermarkets, especially Hannaford and Market Basket, both of which are local places here in the Northeast, both of which are are excellent supermarkets. Let me see. Did you ever bother about checking your iron levels in blood work? I read a lot of controversial stuff about iron toxicity. No, I have not bothered checking my iron level in blood work because I have no reason to. The only places I've seen about any dangers of iron toxicity, number one, if you have a genuine health disorder like maybe hemochromatosis, which is a rare disorder, but I know rare does mean it does exist. Yes, and if you actually have something like that, then yes, you do have to worry about it. Other than that, the only other places I've seen things about iron toxicity are on those websites that are designed to scare you about everything under the sun. Essentially, iron toxicity, aluminum causes Alzheimer's, margarine will give you cancer. But wait, if you go to my website and buy my expensive supplements and take them for the rest of your life, then you will be safe. So, yeah. That's what I think about iron toxicity. It can be a real concern for some people. For most people, it's really nothing to worry about, especially when you consider a cast iron pan is seasoned or that stove Dutch oven there is enameled. So the iron, it's not going to leach any iron into the food. And likewise, a well-seasoned cast iron pan, the amount of iron that's actually leached into the food, quite frankly, is microscopic and really not much more than trace amounts. It's not much to really affect your metabolism. And yes, that does include people, unfortunately, who are anemic and who use cast iron pans, especially to increase their iron levels. I know it has been said, and a number of doctors even have recommended the use of cast iron pans, especially to increase iron levels, especially if you have things like anemia. And there are people who will vow that it has helped them on that. That gets into a subject that I am not an expert in because I'm not a doctor. I do not have any kind of a degree in actual physiology or health sciences, and I cannot make any kind of pronouncements like that. So in that respect, if you really want any more advice about that, talk to your doctor. I'm a guy on a YouTube channel. I'm not one who can give any more advice about that. Boiler honky dude, pal. Properly seasoned cast iron should not leach hardly any iron. Some iron is good, especially women. Oh yeah, that part is certainly true. So, peg tooth. I can buy suet here, but I have to buy a 50-pound box. Ooh, well, make a lot of pies with that. Of course, on the other hand, suet also really can be used for cooking. It does melt. I mean, again, it does have it's more solid than maybe lard, but it can, yeah, I'd say you can render it. Yes. What's up? Oh yes, you're right. You're right. Can't forget the crack. Thank you for reminding me.
Can't get mad at you for saying Jesus Christ. He's saying crack.
Yeah.
All right, now just spread some chocolate chips on it.
Yeah, this is, in fact, it's bubbling. I'm hoping it didn't wait too
That's
long.
perfect.
Oh, okay, it's perfect.
All right.
All right,
Now,
hold
no,
on.
leave it right in the oven.
Wait, I've got to show the people here.
Oh, don't tip it.
You're
Don't
right.
tip it.
You're right. Don't tip it. You too.
You use the camera to the people.
Thank you.
Put it back, Eric. Put it back. Sorry, guys. Oh, jeez. Well, that's gonna. Well, that just. All right. Well, here. Let me help with this. Yeah, that just. Eric.
Here, do you need this glove?
No, I needed that all. Now all the stuff that was on top of it is not on top of it anymore.
Oh.
Yep.
We'll manage.
All right.
And
yeah,
now,
you'd normally just leave it right in the oven.
oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you.
We could put it back in the oven for just a few seconds.
That's what you do. You leave it right in the oven, and then you sprinkle the chocolate chips on. You got the chocolate chips, and then you just spread them.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh well, at least we get a better shot of it that way.
Yeah. It's all right because now the caramels will just be on the bottom. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, having done
That was
that.
almost a disaster.
Yes.
There was chocolate chips all over the computer.
Not. Yeah, that's a disaster. All right, we spilled chocolate chips. Hi. Well, don't underestimate your knowledge. Thanks again for the channel. Well, thank you, I guess. Still better than the ceramic and artificial coatings like Teflon. Yes, it is better, much better. What bothers me is nonstick cookware is untreated aluminum that has been... Okay, stop right there. Jana, I'm sorry, but I have to give you a warning. If you keep up with this health BS, you are gone. And I'm not being polite about it. I am not interested in stupid conspiracy theories about, oh no, this is bad for you. No. That's fine. That's pretty much, I'm laying down the line there. Thank you. I'm here to have fun with cooking. And yes, exactly. We're here to talk about cast iron. We're not here to talk about healthy versus unhealthy. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you could take a cast iron pan, melt a whole bunch of lard in it, take some pork belly, wrap it in bacon, and deep fry it in lard. And because you're doing it in cast iron, it is still welcome on this channel. So no, I am not going to get into ridiculous healthy versus unhealthy discussions because there are many other places online that are doing that, including a lot of places that are lying to you and claiming that you are being poisoned by things in your food. So yeah.
Back to cast iron.
Okay, yes, back to cast iron. Okay, yeah, it has only been a few minutes or so.
Hopefully I can spread this now. I look like a Unabomber.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not spreading as easy now.
It's not? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's moving around a little bit more than
all right.
I'd like.
Should we leave it in? No, maybe we should take it out and let it cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, though, for your help here.
No problem.
Yeah. That does seem to be your specialty, the fast and quick and easy dishes.
Oh yeah, I'm a short order cook. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned how to cook short order, how to cook in kitchens, and fast.
Yes.
Slow cook. I just do. I have one speed. It's called go.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Go. From here, you just decorate.
Yeah.
You just do what you want on it.
My apologies for the outburst, folks, but nonetheless, let's take another look at that.
Well, there's rules on the page, and it's pretty obvious. You know what I mean? It states on the page that this is not a forum for any type of arguments or anything like that. This is a place for people that enjoy cast iron to share what they're enjoying.
Oh, this is true.
Their hobby or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a place to cause debate. It's just for people to have a good time. So when there comes to baits, and especially on stuff that's aluminum, this isn't aluminum. It's
Yes,
cast
yes,
iron.
it is, actually.
We're discussing cast
Yeah.
iron.
For the record, this is USA made aluminum too. It's from Nordic Ware.
And we have tinfoil over it. So.
Yes, we do. Yeah, the sheet pan, as I mentioned, I inherited from Mom. Actually, this has been part of my family since I've been a kid.
All right, pecans.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
There we go. And because it's Christmas.
More pecans?
No, I'm just sprinkles.
Oh yes.
I'm trying to get it down quickly before the chocolate melts.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem. I listen in the other room, and I listen for disasters to avert sometimes. If I'm out here the whole time, I think it causes a little bit of stress and anxiety. So
yeah,
I tend to back off, and if sometimes extra. We all know sometimes the extra hands needed in the kitchen.
Definitely.
I mean, for all of us. I don't think there's a person out here that doesn't need an extra hand in the kitchen now and then. But if the extra hand stays in the kitchen all the time, it gets a little out of like you can go back now. That's why you guys see me come in and fade out and come in and fade out. All right. Well, these aren't very bright sprinkles, but it'll be a nice shot up nice and close.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Thank you once again.
Not a problem.
Because thanks to you, we got ourselves some Christmas crack. And no, by the way, I did not make up that name. This is actually, it's already hardening, isn't it?
Yeah, if you look it up online, it's what it's called.
Yeah. At this point, we could pop this in the freezer or even in the fridge.
You can probably just let it cool, just like this. It won't take very long at all.
No.
Put it outside.
All right.
Where are we in New England? Actually, probably put it right over there in front of the window a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's probably even better than the refrigerator right now.
Yep. And plus, it's getting a little warm in here, so.
Okay. Anyway, my apologies for the outburst. That's true. I am admittedly a little tired tonight. However, as I mentioned,
you're well within your reasoning.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, everybody knows. It's not a secret to this page.
Yeah. I had some, Ms. French Twist says, I had some sheet pans that wouldn't fit in my stove. My condolences. They do sell half sheet pans. I suppose technically this is a half sheet pan, because it doesn't fit the...
Yeah, it is a half sheet, right?
Yeah. Okay, quarter sheet pan.
There you go. There we go.
All right. S Rose 40. I made some cornbread in my 10-inch large skillet today to go with leftover chili. It was great. Oh, yeah. Can you send me some? I wouldn't mind some of that. I love large, but John Nathan Shopper. I love large, but my cheap imported Food Network pan made a legit paella on the first cook. Oh, definitely. Yes. Yeah. Paella. Oh, okay. I pronounced it wrong. But yes, I guess that's the point, is that all cast iron really will cook good. Some will cook better than others, although the difference may be slight in a number of cases. And it looks like Jamie couldn't help helping herself.
It's a little warm.
Oh yeah.
What? Oh, they could.
Oh. A real dealer is not supposed to get hooked on his own product.
Try it again. No.
But anyway, two reasons why everybody loves Lodge is because, yes, it is the best quality modern day cast iron available. Although the a lot of the newer ones. Oh, okay, yeah. Go ahead.
All right, so this is the edge piece, so there isn't much like stuff on the top of it. I don't know if you guys can see really good right there. But then turn to the side and see how the caramel has gone right through the cracker. Yeah. Delicious. And as you saw, simple and easy. That's how everything I make is. All right.
Don't lash up. Nice to tell me you'd block me. There are a lot of people who are exploring cast iron. I've always best to ask a person who's been using it for a good while. Well, reason for that partly is because all over the internet, and no, I'm not going to explode on this one, but I hear that all the time in places that should be just simply for, where people are supposed to have fun cooking food. Instead, we get these fake warnings about how this is bad for you, that is bad for you, that you're going to get cancer from this, and so on and so forth. And I became sick of that years ago. That's one reason why the Cast Iron Cooking Group on Facebook has a no politics rule, especially to avoid arguments over that kind of a subject. So, and on my YouTube channel, I have indeed dabbled in food politics a number of times, and I am going to continue dabbling in food politics sometime in the next couple of weeks. I plan on making a cake, and instead of using vegetable oil in the batter, I am going to be using margarine. So,
Oh boy.
yeah.
Oh shit.
Anyway, any opinion of the 15-inch large baking pan? I really want one, but $42 is a lot for a large. $42 for a 15-inch baking pan? I would not call that a lot, especially brand new and especially at today's prices. I mean, consider the 15-inch large cast iron skillet. Typically goes for about $50 or so. You might be able to find it at TJ Maxx for maybe $40. Of course, the real question is whether or not you feel you can get your money's worth from it.
He's out. Bedroom.
Oh.
So I don't know if he has to-
That's all right. That's all right. Yeah. So here, of course, it's a question of what you feel is worth the price, and as well as what we can afford. Maybe not everyone can afford $42 for a 15-inch cast iron baking sheet. In that case, you might just simply go for a cast iron griddle, which of course can be used as a baking sheet, and there are a number of them that do have a flat side that also makes a wonderful baking sheet. And you know what else makes a great baking sheet? A cast iron skillet. It's round, but there's no reason why you couldn't use it as a baking sheet. Besides, a large cast iron skillet is also the world's best pizza pan and the world's best turkey roasting pan. So why not? Boiler honky dude, if all you know is cornbread that comes out of the Jiffy box, make it from scratch with good cornmeal, and you'll almost hear angels sing. Definitely. I like the lashings. Well, thank you. So anyway, getting back to that, I think this is the first time Lodge has done a cast iron sheet pan, which essentially is just that. It is just a very thin 15-inch square griddle. And there is nothing wrong with that, frankly. I probably would have gotten one myself if I didn't already have a cast iron griddle, if I didn't have the Lodge fish pan, a Birmingham stove and range fish fryer, not to mention a couple of very large cast iron skillets already. So I guess it's a question, again, of need as well as want. If you think you will get a lot of use out of a 15-inch cast iron baking sheet, and I don't see why not. Because again, you can use it as a griddle. You can fry on it. You don't just have to use it as a baking sheet. Jana, I started my collection from large ridged grill pan. It seems to absorb a lot of seasoning. Do you think that makes sense to season the top of ridges separately from the flat parts? I am not really much of an expert at grill pans specifically. And anyway, with a grill pan, consider that the actual grill ridges, those parts are going to contact the food a lot more than the base of the pan. If anything, just all of the grease is going to drip down onto the bottom of the pan. So in that respect, you probably will get a lot of seasoning on the bottom just from all the grease. I would not see any reason to season a grill pan any differently from any other cast iron pan. Javier 2018. I'm not even sure I want to repeat what you're saying here. I understand it's probably in Spanish, and I'm not going to even get into that.
You really want to say hi to
Oh.
the babies?
Oh, okay.
They're getting big now. This is Miss Moby. She's the softest cat in history. I
Mm-hmm.
wish you guys could reach over and pet her. I've never felt a cat who's softer than her ever. I swear she's part rabbit. But
Hmm.
yes, she's a little shy. Oh, she's on camera. Yep. There she is. Oh, she's really bright. I don't like it. I don't know where Trouble. Oh, Trouble's hiding.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
he's.
he looks just like in the Neverending Story.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah, that was Miss Mobley, one of our two cats. They are brother and sister, and they come from the same litter, but you'd never know it
Oh,
now.
no idea.
Yeah, no, he has grown much more than she has. And he even has a different build from her.
He's like your typical black cat. That's sleek.
Yes.
I get here close to the microphone. I heard that earlier. He's your typical black cat where he's sleek and sinewy and fine and really, really muscular. And she's
Wandering.
oh my gosh, she's a lump of soft, lumpy, squishy smushies. And that's as cheesy as you'll ever hear me get.
Yeah. Wandering Sand. What is your opinion on using the stainless steel woven pad to clean my cast iron? I've been thinking of getting one to clean my old cast iron skillets. Go for it. Those things are wonderful, really. They are good. They're great for cleaning cast iron. We're talking like basically cheap steel wool, I guess. Like this is just a bunch of steel wool that I got for, I don't know, I probably got it at the dollar store. This steel wool, or that stainless steel, as you mentioned, it's softer than cast iron, which means that it is not going to damage the iron. If you really, really scrub really hard, you could potentially scrape off some of the seasoning, in which case, well, you season over it again. But it's not likely to damage the cast iron, and you can give it a lot of elbow grease, and you can get a lot of really tough grit off of it with those things. Those are really good excuse me, for cleaning cast iron. We often mention chainmail scrubbers because those are maybe even better for cleaning cast iron, but there's nothing wrong with getting just some typical steel wool for that. Probably about the only thing that I would not recommend for cleaning cast iron is copper scrubbers, because in that case, the copper can actually stain the cast iron. It can actually get into the pores or ridges or whatever you call it, and you permanently have these copper colored streaks or scars on the iron. And while it still works just fine, collectors say that the iron would have been ruined by that. So, our new 15-inch large pan works just fine. Hi, so, the woven pads, do you use them? I use a chainmail scrubber. As I mentioned, I have a chainmail scrubber that actually was a Christmas present, would you believe, about 8 or 9 years ago. I use this thing almost every day, and it is still almost looks brand new. Although granted, I do try to treat it with care. So, but nonetheless, I mean, as you can see, it does not look like it's damaged or torn or the rings have come apart or anything like that. So this is decent stuff. This is really, I love this thing for cleaning cast iron. And hey, Christmas is coming. So if a family member might want to wonder, wait, gee, what can I get my friend who really loves his cast iron? Well, a chainmail scrubber probably wouldn't be a bad gift. They're not even paying me for that. Maybe they should. Did you ever fail a pie or cake recipe in cast iron? Share with us. I definitely have done. I've had more than my fair share of fails. Yes, and especially when I was first learning how to bake in a cast iron bundt pan. At first, I think I had maybe a 50% success rate as far as the cake sticking to the pan. Then I learned a couple of tricks, about one of which would be preheating the cast iron pan, and then almost every time I was able to get it to come out successfully. So it's really the same as anyone. It is it's a learning curve. Bookworm 73. We used salt instead of sugar and had a big fail. My condolences on that. Okay, so anyway, at this point, I think we can probably start the next very simple recipe to go onto this, to go onto the figgy pudding when it comes out of the oven. And that next one is going to be some candied pecans, which is actually very similar to what we what we did with the Christmas crack. Only in this case, we're not going to be using the brown sugar. Here it is. For the pecans, we've got half a cup. No, I'm wrong. We are using brown sugar. We're not using butter. Half a cup of brown sugar, quarter teaspoon salt, half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of water, and a cup of pecan halves. And for this, combine all. Yeah, no, I don't have this recipe memorized, but it should. But it's very simple, so I'm not too worried about that. Combine all ingredients except the pecans in a skillet and cook over medium heat for a minute or 2 until the sugar dissolves and the mixture is bubbling. Add the pecans and cook it for an additional 3 minutes. Remove from the heat and spread the pecans on parchment paper so that they cool completely. Break apart and enjoy. Okay, so this sounds like at this point I may have to actually wait until the figgy pudding comes out, so that when it's done, we will simply spread it over the top of the pudding rather than letting it cool on parchment paper. So I guess I am going to have to wait on that. On the other hand, we are getting close to that time now. I would estimate there are about maybe 20 minutes or so before the pudding comes out. So thanks everybody for your patience with this. Hello from Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I am very grateful, really, to everybody who has been watching, both from the United States and abroad. So, okay, at this point, yeah, this is okay. Good. This is clean. This is definitely cooled off, so actually I don't even need the glove on this. And I suppose that's one thing to mention. This thing has a has a nice sticky coating now of melted caramel on it. Yes, it does. So it is, really washing this thing in the sink is going to be no difficulty at all. It can take less than a minute, I think, to wash a pan like this in the sink. So probably not. No, this is true. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here are the pecans. Well, there is that. Okay. All right. Well, we will keep that out of the way then. Okay. All right. So at this point, then, we're going to do a very quick washing of a cast iron pan, which, again, there's really nothing to it. I am just heating, I am not using soap. You can use soap to wash cast iron, but you do not have to. I'm just got this thing on. Gonna get some fairly hot water, not hot enough to burn myself. No, thanks, I'm not into that. And it's going to take in fact, if you want to count the seconds, feel free to do so. Boom, we are done. And now we put this back on the stove. We will put back here again. Heat it maybe at about 3 on the stovetop burner. And in a few minutes, this pan will be ready to be greased. So, yeah, who said it was hard to take care of cast iron again? As you can see, there's really nothing to it. Okay, has anyone in this live stream used a regular lid to cover a cast iron pan or a steel lid to cover the cast iron in the oven? Is it a bad idea? No, there's no problem at all with that. As long as the lid is oven safe. Some pans have some difficulty fitting fitting cast iron lids, or you might not be able to find a lid that will fit your pan, especially the newer ones like, say, Finex or field or a stargazer or so on. In that case, you've got to improvise and use a different kind of pan. Where can we get that chainmail like you've got? That is actually a pretty famous brand of chainmail scrubber. It is called the Ringer, and you can get that on Amazon. That's where I got. That's where mine came from. I mean, as I mentioned, it was a Christmas present, but I do know that it came from Amazon. I believe that's where the company started selling those. So all you have to do is go onto really anywhere and look for chainmail scrubber. Bookworm 73. I've used steel lids, but only on the stovetop. Oh, and it's 3:30 a.m. here in Sweden, and enjoying the stream so far. Well, thank you then very much. I'm surprised you'd be up at 3:30 a.m. But okay, I can only. I'm glad you're enjoying it. So. Other lids are okay, boiler hunky do, but now they may condense moisture that falls outside the pan and make a mess. Well, there is that risk, as you can see, even with the even here with the stove Dutch oven, we've got to be careful when lifting it because precisely that reason. Yeah, this thing definitely has that risen nicely too. So. And yeah, getting that out of the oven is going to be fun because that is going to be hot. But, well, I've done it before. We will do it again. All right, raise the angle up slightly. There we go. So that way we can still at least see the pan. All right. Appreciate everybody's patience as always. And at this point, as I said, we are getting close to the moment of truth. So I appreciate, again, everybody who has hung on here. Well, at this point, I mean, what can I say? You know, we've gone past an hour, but I know that this pudding, I'm going to try taking it out now in just about 10 minutes or so. So if anybody wants to hang around and see the reveal, either it's going to hold together or it's not. And it's really as simple as that. Okay, Ace Hardware has the chainmail scrubber too. Yeah, cast iron has gotten so popular, especially these days, that a lot of these items are actually very easy to find. And I guess that's one thing I'll mention as well. I mentioned it last week, especially with the holidays coming. What I found before, I should really check and see if that happens again. Last year, the Lodge cast iron skillet in particular seemed to sell out just about everywhere in my local area. I went looking specifically for a Lodge 10-inch cast iron skillet, and nobody had them. I went to Walmart's, plural. I went to Target. I went to TJ Maxx. I even looked at Bass Pro Shops. While they did have other cast iron skillets from other manufacturers, the Lodge 10-inch skillet you could not seem to find anywhere, which I guess is another testament to the popularity of cast iron. It's really made a comeback, especially these days. So I guess that's why you see, for instance, again, on places like Amazon or the like, a lot of companies now are coming out with these brand new, inexpensive 10-inch cast iron skillets, often that look like an imitation of the Lodge cast iron skillet. So I can only say then that Lodge must be doing something right. That stove would be good for turkey. Oh, I've no doubt about that. I've not made a turkey in this yet, but my previous big enamel pot from Le Creuset, which I replaced with the stove, I did actually make a couple of turkeys with that. The very first time I cooked a turkey, it was in the Le Creuset Dutch oven, and I had no idea how to do it, and I ended up overcooking it to the point where it fell apart. It still tasted delicious, but, well, obviously you don't want a turkey that falls apart. I've had some practice since then, and I like to think that my roast turkey recipe these days has much improved from that.
Turkey you made last week.
Oh.
Turkey he made last. All right, let me come on.
All right.
So he made a turkey the day after Thanksgiving for like a Thanksgiving that would be for my son and everything like that. The turkey he made that day was what I thought would be the best turkey I've ever had in my life. Then last week, I don't know if you guys, have you put the video up yet?
I'm still working on it.
Well, you guys are going to see a video. It's going to come up. It's going to be really soon for a turkey video. Watch that and do that recipe because that is the best turkey I have ever had in my entire life. 40 years on this earth, and that was the best turkey I've ever had.
No.
Ever.
You're exaggerating.
No, I'm not. I told you that when you made it. You guys, he doesn't give himself enough credit.
Okay. What do you think of the Lodge factory seasoning, if I may ask? I think the Lodge factory seasoning is unfortunately disappointing. I mean, Lodge cast iron is wonderful, but the Lodge factory seasoning is, well, really basic in that you can use it. You can buy a Lodge cast iron pan with the factory seasoning. Take it home, take off the covering, and cook with it right away. It will work just fine, which of course is what they want. What I find is that after several months of usage like that, the seasoning will likely tend to start flaking, and then it's going to be necessary to strip and reseason the pan. A lot of folks who are very familiar with cast iron may tend to like to strip a Lodge cast iron skillet immediately and apply their own seasoning to it. And of course, you are free to do so. I am not, I don't work for Lodge. I'm not a spokesperson for them. So if I was going to criticize Lodge about anything, it would be the quality of their seasoning on their pans. I mean, granted, it is satisfactory enough that an everyday user can use it right out of the store. And that's why that factory seasoning actually saved Lodge from bankruptcy about 10 to 20 years ago. The seasoning is so-so. It's good enough to use. If you want to improve the seasoning on a cast iron pan, I would certainly recommend it. Let me see. Just seasoned some vintage skillets yesterday. This is Austin Bourbon. Number 8, 3-notch Lodge. Number 8, unmarked Wagner and Wagner Square. I all picked up for $3 at local Goodwill. Congratulations. It's scores like that definitely, that's the reason why we call it the treasure hunt or the hunt. Andrew Bonifacio. I strip the seasoning off, run it through my oven cleaning setting, and start over. Yes. Using the self-cleaning oven has had some difficulty for some people. It is not recommended on the cast iron cooking group. I am not going to discourage people from using a self-cleaning oven to strip a cast iron pan or two, but no more than that. There have indeed been documented incidents, rare, but they have been known to happen, where an oven full of heavy, thick cast iron in the self-cleaning mode has been damaged. That's because the self-cleaning mode in an oven is not meant for cleaning cast iron or having really heavy iron inside it. It's meant to be used in an empty oven. So using the self-cleaning oven goes against the instructions and would probably void the warranty if your oven was damaged. Having said that, it's not likely going to damage your oven unless you maybe stuff your oven really full of heavy iron and then you use the self-cleaning oven on that. So don't do that. All right, best turkey in life, need recipe. Okay.
Will not be disappointed.
Right. Well, based on that would be the recipe for the roast turkey recipe on my website, which I also have here on my cast iron on my YouTube channel. And that if you look up roast turkey in cast iron, you're likely to come across it. Then, well, I hope you like it. So, okay. And hey, guess what? I think we are getting close to that time. So,
One last thing. I think
yes.
One reason why that turkey, another reason we both figured it out. One reason it was so good too is we did let it sit for quite a while before we cut into it. Both times.
At least an hour, I would say.
Yeah, and it was still warm still. You
Yes,
know
it
what I mean?
was.
But you cut into it too early, the juices are still running.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They come right out. So I think one thing to do, no matter what your turkey recipe is let it set. Let it set, let it set, let it set,
For
let
a
it
long
set.
time.
You know, because usually you're just slicing turkey. You put hot gravy over a turkey anyways, it's going to warm up the turkey, but let it set.
I've seen Gordon Ramsay's turkey recipe, and he actually recommends letting the turkey sit for as long as 4 hours. As he says, let the turkey rest for as long as it took to cook it. If that's what you want to do, I suppose you could certainly give that a try. I don't know if many of us could stand waiting that long. But yes, a nice long wait with a turkey definitely helps. However, again, I do believe we are getting close to that time. Thank you, everybody, for your patience for waiting on this. I've been steaming this for about 3 hours, and I can only hope that this works correctly. So that means, once again, we get to take everybody on a roller coaster ride here. This is what I get for having no budget and doing a YouTube live. And here is our figgy pudding, or here will be our figgy pudding. This will turn off now. I think I don't even want to put it here. 1 second, I've got to put this lid someplace safe. Okay. Anyway, I like the way this thing has definitely risen here. So I'd say that's a good sign. All right. Then from here, let's get some room. And we will move over to here. Where we will be uncovering it. There it is. Turn off the heat. Very carefully lift it out. Come on, don't want to drop this. Glass bowl, so I've got to be careful. Brum. And with that, go a little closer, I think. There we go. Ta-da! And hey, it does look like a sponge. So again, this, for the record, this, as I said, is meant as a figgy pudding. It's not the same as a traditional Christmas pudding in that it does not have a lot of the fruit. Ooh, that smell, that scent is really something. Oh yeah, you can smell that all right. I mean, it has citrus in it, a lot of figs and some apples, and that's really about it for the fruit. In this case, the recipe also says to put about a cup of nuts in it, but I did not do that in this case. So here, I am always debating whether I should just simply uncover it immediately or let it rest. I'm thinking I should probably let it rest for just a few minutes, but nonetheless, this is a figgy pudding. And so when they ask, what the heck is figgy pudding? Now you know. But I really, really like the spongy texture of this. I think this may actually, if I may brag a little bit, this feels like this may be the best pudding done so far. So I'm definitely going to have to take into consideration what I did in this recipe tonight. Once again, the recipe I have in the description of this YouTube video, and it is available on my website. It's kind of like a modification of the original Christmas plum pudding, and there's nothing wrong with that when you're considering that comes from the Middle Ages, and Christmas plum pudding has been modified so many times that there's no reason why you couldn't do a variation like this and call it a figgy pudding. Even though the Christmas plum pudding does not have plums or figs, or likewise you could say original figgy pudding does not have figs, this one does, and that's one reason why I'm looking forward to it. All right, Did you grease the bowl at all? Yes, I did. I greased the bowl with shortening before adding the pudding mixture to it. The pudding mixture was very, very heavy, and you actually have to scoop it in and press it down. It is nowhere near like a cake batter. It's another reason why this is pudding and not cake. So, okay, based on that, yeah, good. Well, I hope it's a good job. The real question, of course, is going to be flipping that over. So anyway, I'll say that again. Yes, I did grease this. This is just a heavy 2-quart mixing bowl that I believe I got at a discount store like Big Lots or something several years ago. They do sell those fancy pudding basins, of course, at the elite cooking stores, but I did not use that. I mean, I would rather, as you know, what Alton Brown says about unitaskers, because this makes a good mixing bowl as well as a good bowl for steaming pudding. So at this point, I think we may as well do the moment of truth here. So to do that, we have got to get ourselves, this is just a little pastry spreader here, though quite frankly I'm not even sure from the looks of it. Oh god, this is such a soft consistency. I'm thinking I could very well damage it if I'm not careful. There we go. Now we're starting to get somewhere. The real question is this going to fall apart? And I don't have an answer to that yet. Could you bake the cooking directly in a Dutch oven and skip the bowl? I don't think this is solid enough to stand on its own without the bowl, unfortunately. So the bowl is necessary. Though on the other hand, I have yet to try baking it in a Dutch oven. That's one thing I do want to do one of these days. I would figure that you could it may have a different consistency though. So, having done this, well, what can we say? Let's put this on and see what happens. I have to be careful here, of course. This is the part I never like, because I don't want to tip it over, and I do not want to. There we go. Well, now that it's like this, question, of course, is how to lift it. Ooh, especially since this is pretty hot. All right. Can think of a couple of ideas. One of which, not sure yet. These are lifters from, in fact, from the Lodge Cook It All. Let me see if I can do this right. I'm making this up as I go along. I'm not sure what we're going to do here. Maybe not. Okay, where did that spatula go? Here we are. Oh, hey, there we go. I hope you saw that. That was actually very promising. All right, now that we've done that, okay. Yeah, drum roll, please. Up and up. Oh, almost made it. Up. Try again. Up. Ha! There we are. I might have damaged it a little bit, but that's okay. That's only on one side, because there it is at long last. Thanks to everyone for their patience here, folks. I do believe we have ourselves figgy pudding. It's got a nice spongy consistency to it, too. As I mentioned before, this is definitely like a sponge. However, I do not see any sign that this thing is going to collapse, and I'm certain that it is likely to settle and probably congeal and probably be even more solid in a little while, which means we will have time to make the candied pecans to go on top. Yeah, that's okay. All right. Still, we're off to a great start. Now, one other thing about figgy pudding, I think. I could keep going. I'm not asking everybody to stay here at this point because, we've already been going for like an hour and 20 minutes. But, I mean, of course, we want to do some candied pecans. So.
I think they enjoy you there.
Hot, hot, hot. But hey, take a look.
Look at that, huh? Kind of looks like a fruitcake.
Yeah. Except
smells like it too.
Yeah, and actually, despite what I was thinking, the
Yeah,
smell is
delicious. So I told you, remember?
Mm-hmm. You did.
Yep.
Okay, let me find.
Like I said, it was only because I was looking. You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay, now that we've done that, back to business here.
I'm gonna step back again.
All right. So now
this,
from here, I've got to do this as quickly as I can. This is okay. This one does use brown sugar and cinnamon and a little bit of water, but it does not use butter. So it's going to be like a brown sauce, in fact. Mm-hmm. Hey, actually, this is a nice shot here. We've got the pudding on one side and the skillet here on the other, so that's not bad.
Yeah, this right here.
1 second, let me just raise this tiny bit. There we go. Thank you so much. All right. Now from here, yes? Yeah. Okay. Now from here, let's start heating up the skillet once again. And actually, I remember several years ago, I made Jamaican browning sauce. I'm betting this is going to be similar to that. In that, we have to keep stirring the brown sugar until it melts. And when it melts, it becomes very, very hot. In fact, all we have to do is add only a tiny, tiny bit of water to it. Now I'm understanding how this is working, how this recipe is working. So this is going to be an interesting experience in itself. They said about half a cup. This is a 1/3 cup. So at this point, I don't think there'll be a problem with that. So now from here, again, what we're going to have to do is just keep going with the sugar until the brown sugar until it melts, and eventually it will melt because this thing is going to be hot enough. Maybe I should, I definitely should have preheated the skillet, unfortunately. So I apologize if this ends up taking longer than expected. Nonetheless, much like doing a roux, we have to keep stirring it so that it doesn't burn. Okay, what do we got here, by the way? Bam, we have liftoff. Oh yeah, well, thank you for the comments. This is kind of like an additional step that we're doing here. As I mentioned, we're going to be doing candied pecans to go with this, which means that, again, we've got to keep heating this until it actually melts. Oh, and by the way, in addition to this, we're going to use a little bit of salt and a little bit of cinnamon. So here's the salt. All we need is about a dash or so. It's probably enough. And likewise, it says here, we're going to use about maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. So that's not much either. Come on. That's probably more than enough right there. Now that we've done that, we just got to keep going until it eventually melts. So that means, of course, I've got to pass the time. What else? Talking about cast iron. And there's no sign, by the way, of this thing collapsing. In fact, if anything, it feels like it's actually getting harder, which I guess is a good thing. All right, I do have the burner on the right burner. I'm sure some folks may have done that. It's like you spend all this time stirring the pan and you wonder, why isn't this doing what it's supposed to? And you realize, oh dear, I turned on the wrong stovetop burner. Fortunately, I'm definitely using the right burner on it this time. So it's just a matter of getting this hot, as I said, hot enough. This will probably only take a few minutes because, hey, it is cast iron. What else can you say? Figgy pudding. Oh yeah, let me say something else about this. Remember, the song Now Bring Us Some Figgy Pudding? Well, that's one reason why figgy pudding is actually meant to be served hot. you don't have to chill it in the freezer or the refrigerator. You actually want to heat it and serve it good and hot, because consider all those Christmas carolers out in the cold, maybe the snow, singing, "Bring us some figgy pudding," and you can better believe some hot figgy pudding would definitely warm their stomachs very nicely. So that actually makes for a nice tradition when you think about it. Carolers singing not only for, well, of course, for donations, but also for some nice hot food, such as figgy pudding. And what do we have here? A little butter, maybe. Somebody says, maybe a tiny bit of butter. Well, actually, I have done this before, and I actually have gotten it to melt. The trick is you've got to get it really, really hot. Yeah, in fact, now that the memory of what happened comes back to me, yeah, I appreciate your comments, but I'm going to forego the butter, because once this thing actually melts, well, wait till you see what happens. Suffice to say, I almost gave myself a steam burn. It was that hot. Now, all you do need is a tiny, tiny bit of water. It's not the same as melting chocolate. No, this is entirely different. This is, oh, look at this. See? It's starting to melt. So it is working. Just, again, we just have to be patient. Again, this is not the same as melting butter or melting chocolate. In this one, we're actually heating this to a very, very high temperature. And we have to keep stirring it so that it does not burn. Again, it's almost like a gumbo roux here. And in fact, you can even tell where the hot spot on this pan is, because that's the part where this is melting. This is not a flat pan. It does have a gate mark on the bottom, and I have to say it is not exactly flat bottom either. So yeah, you can bet this pan has seen a lot of use in the 120 or more years of its existence. But hey, it still cooks. I think I should also mention, as a matter of fact, I think I've told this story before. This pan here, in fact, when I bought this pan, it was cracked. I had this and a second gate marked pan, both of which had substantial cracks on them. But I did not want to throw them out. I actually took the time to find a decent welder who welded this together, and he did an excellent job of it, too. You can barely see it. The weld is right here, this little part right near the handle. It's maybe a little discolored. And by the way, look at it now. You can see it is indeed melting. And remember, no, I did not use butter. This is not the first time I've done this, actually. As I said, the memories are coming back. This is good, but this is actually can be hazardous. As I mentioned, what I'm going to do is add only a tiny, tiny bit of water to this. And when that happens, boy, you're not going to believe what's going to happen next. And what do we have here? Hard to see caramelization or slight changes in the brown sugar. Well, let me see if I can actually get more of a close-up on this, if at all possible. Hope that helps. Gotta keep it from burning though. But you notice this was brown sugar. Now it is, oh yeah, I can definitely tell it's starting to burn a little bit. So I've gotta keep stirring it. However, we are definitely at the melted point right now, and that means we get to have fun. All I need to do, well, I think I'll turn this off, in fact, but all I need to do now is get only a tiny bit of water. Here's, okay, this will do. And voila. And with that, it's time to throw in our pecans. Probably enough. The handle here is slightly warm, but really no more than that. In fact, this thing is so sticky, I'm wondering how I'm going to be able to put this on top of that pudding. This is going to be kind of awkward, I can see. I think what I'll have to do is probably press them onto the top of the pudding bit by bit. That's about the only way I can think of making this work. But anyway, this is definitely caramelized, for lack of a better term. As I mentioned, that steam explosion, last time I did that, I was too close, and I almost got a nasty steam burn from it. It is very hot. All right, I better do this quickly before it cools off. So, back to the pudding. Let's see if we can do this right. At the same time, I don't want to damage the pudding either. Yeah, come on. There we go. Well, that's something. As you can see, I am hardly a good food artist, but I'm doing my best. That's the best I can say. Boy, look at these threads of caramel, in fact. Wasn't expecting that. Well, it's my attempt. That's all I can say. I mean, I'm really kind of making this up as I go. Yet on the other hand, this isn't so bad. Yeah, I think that's the best we can do. I'm not even going to try pressing these into the side. Rather, I'm just going to press them down here on the top, which I guess is about all we can do. But hey, I think we're making it work. Because once all this cools off, it's going to look interesting. And the last of the pecans, in fact. Yeah, this part I kind of made up as I went along. But nonetheless, here is our result. Figgy pudding topped with candied pecans. I don't think that looks so bad. And voila. I wonder the same thing if the sticky sugary thing stripped off some additional seasoning from the bottom. You know, it's possible it could have. On the other hand, that doesn't look so bad. Did that? Oh, let's try. There we are. And that is what the pan looks like. At this point, it's still soft, and I don't think there's going to be any difficulty scraping this off or washing it again. So that's not so bad. Hot water and a scrub should take that sugar right off with no problem. Yeah, generally, sugar is not difficult. You know what? I can't resist. I'm going to have to try one of these pecans and see what it's like. And it's not too hot either. It looks like it cooled off quickly. Oh, yeah. I'm thinking this isn't bad at all. Nom, nom, nom. So anyway, very much appreciate the patience for all of this, folks. Nonetheless, here is our final result. Messy and amateurish, but I don't think it's that bad. And after all this, we can still do a buttercream hard sauce and drizzle it over the sides, but not now, considering that we're already running past an hour and a half. And I do have to get up for work tomorrow. But nonetheless, yeah, it does have a nice spongy consistency. Welcome. Say hello to our Figgy pudding. Indeed, made with figs. It may not be a traditional Christmas plum pudding, but I have made these before. I don't think I've ever had one with this kind of consistency, though. I'm definitely looking forward to tearing into this. And here is our result. And I hope you folks enjoyed this evening. So once again, if anybody asks what Figgy pudding is, here's your answer. So, hot water, like kettle hot? Yeah, it was about, I'd say that steam was easily that hot. Hot water, just enough really. This no different from washing any other cast iron pan. But nonetheless, here we go. I think we are about all set at this point. Yeah, this has cooled off already. It's still a little warm on top, but well, we will try the pudding and see how it turns out. And once again, I do hope you folks enjoyed this. This is, again, just, well, something I wanted to do for Christmas because, hey, Christmas is coming. And what better time, really, to go and try some different things in cast iron than this time of year, especially when you end up with results like this. So I can only hope again that you folks are kind enough to tune in, well, next week, because next week is a very special moment for me, if I may get personal. Next week is going to be my cast iron anniversary, where I celebrate 10 years from the night I cooked in cast iron for the first time and caught the bug. So we will be coming back next Wednesday for that. Until then, thank you everybody for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this. Please feel free to post your comments. I am very much open to criticism, honest criticism anyway. And from here, I can only wish everybody a good evening, and of course, well, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Yule, Solstice, and all the rest of those coming up soon. See you all next Wednesday, folks. Thank you once again.